The cameras had stopped rolling, but something in the air refused to settle. The lights dimmed across the studio, leaving a faint golden haze that danced between the two of them. Crew members laughed quietly, moving props, checking lenses. And yet, Lee Min-ho's eyes never left her. Kim Go-eun stood by the window set, still holding her script, flipping through the same page she had memorized 100 times. Her hair brushed her cheek as she tucked it behind her ear, unaware that he was still watching. He should have looked away. He should have pretended to check his phone or talk to someone, anything. But he didn't. Because in that moment, watching her was easier than breathing. She looked different under the soft studio light. Not the actress everyone admired. Not the woman on every magazine cover. Just Go-eun. Quiet, thoughtful, with that small, distant smile she wore when she was lost in her own world. He found himself smiling too. The kind of smile that happens before you even realize it. One of the staff noticed. Min-ho SSI, we're resetting for another take. He blinked, forcing himself back to the noise of reality. Okay, he said quickly, pretending to stretch his neck, pretending he hadn't just been caught staring. Go-eun turned slightly, catching his reflection in the glass. Their eyes met for a fraction of a second. It was nothing and everything. The director called for positions. Everyone moved back into place. She took her mark, he took his. It was just another scene. But to him, it wasn't. When the slate clapped, he could still feel that moment lingering between them, the invisible thread that had refused to break since the first day they met. They said love on camera was easy. But whatever this was, it was far from acting. Later, when they took a break, Go-eun sat with her coffee, scrolling through her phone, trying to look busy. Min-ho sat a few seats away, pretending to study his lines, his pen tapping against the margin. He wanted to say something. Anything. But every word he thought of felt either too much or not enough. He'd told himself countless times that it was just friendship, just comfort, just chemistry for the screen. But every time she laughed, really laughed, the kind that made her eyes crinkle, something inside him shifted. Something that had nothing to do with acting. He caught her reflection again in the black surface of his tablet. She was looking down, but there was the faintest trace of a smile on her lips. Did she know he was watching? He looked away, heart thudding like a secret he'd promised not to keep. When the evening shoot began, the director wanted a close-up. A scene of quiet connection. No dialogue, just emotion. Min-ho stood across from her, the light between them warm and soft. Ready? The director asked. Go-eun nodded. Min-ho didn't answer. He was already lost in the moment. The camera rolled. She looked up. He looked back. No script could capture what was in their eyes. The silence said everything. It was tender, hesitant, real. When the director finally called, "Cut," no one moved for a heartbeat. It was as if they both forgot where the acting ended and the truth began. The crew applauded softly, admiring the rawness of their performance. But only Min-ho and Go-eun knew it wasn't performance at all. That night, as rain began to fall outside the studio, Min-ho stayed behind. He told the staff he wanted to review the next scene. But in truth, he just needed a moment alone to breathe, to step away from what he couldn't explain. He walked over to the window where she had stood earlier. The faint outline of her handprint was still on the glass. He smiled, tracing it gently with his fingers. "Good job today," he whispered to no one. His reflection smiled back at him, tired and quiet. Behind him, a soft voice broke the silence. "You're still here." He turned. She was standing by the door, umbrella in hand, her hair damp from the drizzle outside. "I forgot my phone," she said, though her voice sounded unsure, as if that wasn't the real reason she came back. "Oh." He nodded. "It's over there on the table." She walked past him, close enough that he could smell her perfume. Something gentle like white tea and rain. She picked up her phone, hesitated, then turned back to him. "You looked different today," she said softly. He blinked. "Different how?" "During the close-up. You weren't acting." For a long second, he didn't speak. Then, barely above a whisper, he said, "Neither were you." The silence that followed was delicate, like a secret being shared without words. She smiled faintly. "You'll catch a cold if you stay too long." He nodded, though he didn't move. And then she left. Just like that. He stood there for a long time after she was gone, listening to the sound of her footsteps fading down the hallway, mixing with the rhythm of the rain. Weeks later, behind-the-scenes photos from that very day started circulating online. One picture in particular caught everyone's attention. Lee Min-ho standing in the background, looking at Kim Go-eun with an expression no one could quite describe. Some said it was admiration. Others called it affection. But those who had been following them for years, they knew. The comments filled up with messages. "He's not acting. Look at his eyes. This photo says everything." Min-ho never addressed it. Neither did Go-eun. But those who were there that day, those who saw how he looked at her when the cameras weren't rolling, didn't need an explanation. Because sometimes love doesn't need to be confessed out loud. It lingers quietly, between stolen glances and unsent words. Months later, when the drama aired, that same scene became one of the most replayed clips online. Viewers couldn't explain why it felt so real. Why their hearts ached even after the episode ended. Min-ho watched it alone in his apartment one night, the glow of the screen painting soft light across his face. He saw himself looking at her, saw everything he tried to hide. He smiled faintly, then whispered, "Still not acting." Somewhere across the city, Go-eun was watching too. And when she saw the same moment, she laughed quietly, her eyes glistening. Because she remembered. She remembered the silence, the look, the unspoken truth. And though the world called it chemistry, she knew it was something far deeper. It wasn't just behind the scenes. It was what lived between them. Something fragile, beautiful, and real. Even now, fans still talk about that day. About the look he gave her, the pause between takes, the photo that spoke more than any interview ever could. And maybe that's how it was meant to be. Not declared, not defined. Just felt. Because sometimes, the most unforgettable love stories aren't written in scripts. They're hidden in the spaces between action and cut. End.